Hey, how's it going? You obviously know who it is. It's Five Large Fries. Now, I've got a video that I want to do. And I'm looking over here because I'm actually recording it with Elgato, not Elgato, sorry, the OBS. So I can do things like this, like on the fly, which is pretty cool. So I want to talk about a couple of, I guess it'd be this way I'm pointing, a couple of loadouts that I use for different modes. Specifically, we're going to talk about S&D, and I've labeled my loadout as such because I fucking hate S&D with a passion, and yet I still play it. I say I still play it, I'm forced to play it, let's be real. So, here's the loadout that I use. I have the M4A1, and I have a HDR sniper rifle. Now, the sniper rifle is to get those sniping little bastards that decide that all they're going to do is try and play like a try-hard and use a sniper rifle. So we have that. And the M4A1 is just because it is, by default, the best weapon in the game, other than maybe the MP5, the MP7. I mean, look at it, it's all SMGs, right? But in terms of assault rifles, I believe, personally, the M4A1 is the best assault rifle. Now, they're all pretty good in their own rights, but it's just good. It's just a beast. So we'll take a look at what loadouts, or should we say, what attachments I have for the M4A1. Now, first off, we have the monolithic suppressor. It's the last one that you unlock. The reason is you have sound suppression and damage range. Now, granted, you could probably get away with having one of the other suppressors on, like the lightweight one and the attack suppressor, but I feel like this gives you that extra range, which is really important when you're fighting against someone, well, let's be real, at range, which is a lot of the time in S&D. Next, we have the barrel, which is the stock M16 Grenadier. This is the second one that you unlock. The reason for this is, again, that range and the recoil and basically control of the weapon that you get with this. You could, if you really wanted to, go for something like the Corvus Custom Marksman. But to be honest with you, I feel like the stock M16 is pretty beast. Underbarrel, I've got the Commando foregrip for the extra stabilization when shooting. Realistically, though, you could probably get away with having the Merc foregrip, or possibly going even with the Ranger foregrip here. I wouldn't worry too much about the Operator foregrip because, you know, at the moment our aim down sight speed is pretty slow because of the other attachments. So something like the Commando foregrip here will give you that extra stabilization that you need without sacrificing that aim down sight speed. Now, the ammo here, it all depends on your play style. Personally, I like the 60 round mag. However, the 32 mag gives you that extra fire rate because it changes the actual magazine type. So instead of it being the 5.56, which is what it currently is, changes it to the 9mm rounds, and they fire much faster from this gun. So it's kind of like having an SMG, which is quite nice. But it all depends. Personally, I like the 60 round mag because you can just spray it like an absolute madman, and it takes a couple of seconds, if not, to reload. So why not get that extra mag, I guess. And the last one here is the stippled grip tape, and this gives you that aim down sight speed, sacrificing a little bit of aiming stability, but we make up for that with the Commando foregrip. Next, looking at the HDR, we'll talk about the perks in a second, but obviously we're going to need overkill so that we can have the HDR. Now, for the muzzle, I don't actually have it because, let's be real, you're using a sniper rifle and these things are loud as fuck regardless of if you have a suppressor on. So in terms of barrel, I have the HDR Pro purely for that extra range and bullet velocity. 7 round mag, but realistically you could probably change that to the 9 round, which I'm going to do. I haven't actually changed to the 9 round since I unlocked it, so that's the thing. I have sleight of hand because that's always nice to have, but presence of mind is also a really key one, especially if you're hard scoping quite a lot, which you tend to do in S&D a lot, as well, I do at least. Stock, I go for the Stalker Scout, but you could probably go for something like the aiming stability or things like that, but the Stalker Scout, you get the idea. This one, I like it for the aim down sight speed. Scope is completely your preference. The reason I have thermal on is because the last game I had, there was someone on the enemy team throwing smoke a lot, so I decided I'm going to counter that, and I edited my loadout for the next round so that I could have the thermal scope, which you can do in game, which is quite nice. So realistically, I just don't have a scope on at all, but I had the thermal scope on at the time purely because people were throwing smoke. So you can get rid of that. And of course here, we've talked about this, I went for the pro, so that's pretty much my loadout there. I mean, the sniper rifle's not fully leveled up yet. I mean, I don't really snipe, but it's nice to have it there on hand. Now perks, obviously we talked about overkill being the main one, purely because you need that sniper rifle. Ghost, again, is a priority purely because of the fact that if they have a UAV or they have the personal radar, you stop being seen on it. However, because you're playing S&D, and I think I might change this up, restock would be good. Now, what restock does, I mean, it says it recharges your equipment over 30 seconds. This is both your tactical, so in this case it will be your stim, and it will be your grenade as well. It recharges those every 30 seconds. Which is really handy, especially if you're getting into a game where you're last man standing, you've already used your grenade, or, you know, your claymores, or bouncing betties, or bouncing boobies, whatever you want to call them. You know, you restock this without having to have the ammo box as your field tactical. So restock is probably a good one here, but Ghost is one of those things that, like, once you start using it, you never take it off. So it's really hard to take off, because then you're like, well, you kind of feel naked without it. But we're going to go restock anyway, purely because it is a search and destroy cyber attack type class. So last one here, again, it's all situational based on your playstyle, of course. I go for shrapnel because I like to have the 2 bouncing betties or bouncing boobies, the proximity mines. But it's nice. It's also it's really nice to have 2 of those. The other thing I would probably go for, if you don't want to and you're happy with just the one, like, lethal grenade or equipment, if you're happy with just the one, battle hardened. Battle hardened is a key, because if people are flashing you, they're stunning you, they're sending out fucking any kind of EMP thing, which I haven't really seen much of, but, you know, there's always that chance you get EMP'd. It reduces the strength of it, and that's always good, because the last thing you want is just to be going like this for fucking ages. So battle hardened is quite a nice one to have. So again, all depends on your playstyle. I like to have the 2 lethals, but again, that is personally what I would go for. Now, obviously, again, I told you what my lethal would be. It is the proximity mine. This is so you can chuck one, say, on an objective, or if you're on a corner and you're, like, peeking and you've got, like, another corner that is exposed behind you that you want to kind of know what's going on there, you just chuck that down. So it's really nice to have the 2 there, and with restock, you can restock both of those every minute. So every 30 seconds you get one back, and then obviously once a minute passes, you then have 2 back. It does actually count like that. So if you have 2 of those, restock is great. Again, tactical, I go for stim, purely because if you get hit marked by a sniper rifle, you're left on 1 hit. You don't want to be peeking out again straight away. You want to stim yourself up, peek out again, and then get hit marked again. So I'll go for Stim. So that's pretty much the loadout that I have for SMD and Cyber Attack. Now, in terms of what I have just in general when I'm playing, say, like a team deathmatch, or if I'm playing any other mode like Domination, I have this. I called it Gold Member because, as you can see, it's gold. So again, this is your standard M4 class, the Commando grip, the 60-round mag, stippled grip tape. But this time I went for the FSS Predator because it has the sound suppression and the aim down sight speed. You don't need a muzzle for it because you automatically have the suppressor on it with the barrel. So you have extra aim down sight speed, which is quite nice. And I went for the Forged Tac CQS for the extra aim down sight speed. A lot of this was mainly built around aiming down sights because the quickie, like for those modes, it's better to be able to aim down quicker down the sights. Whereas in a mode like SND, where it's a lot slower, you can get away with, for the most part, being a little slower to the draw, unless they're like right on your ass. But it's hardly ever going to be the case because there's a lot of long range combat going on in S&D, as far as I've experienced anyway. You may not be so lucky, you may be having a lot of close quarters stuff, but for me it's a lot of long range. So that'd be what I'd have there. So again, another M4, and as your secondary I go for the Desert Eagle or the .50 GS. Again, I have this gold because this thing is just a beast. Let's have a look at what I have here. So I go for the Forged Tac Enforcer for the extra range and velocity and recoil control. Recoil control is a must for this, considering the next thing that we're going to show you, and that is the match grade trigger, which increases your fire rate and your aiming stability, but it sacrifices your hip fire accuracy. So this is something that, if you're using this trigger, aiming down sight is like a key, and I don't see why you would hip fire this thing. This thing is just crazy. 13-round mag. I mean, what's not to love about extra bullets, right? Next one is your rubberized grip tape for the recoil control, and you're sacrificing aim and stability, but you get that with the trigger. I knew one of these actually gives it to you, so it kind of, yeah, pros and cons kind of thing. And then recon, because I mean, you don't have to have it. I just thought, well, I don't know what I was thinking, to be honest. I think, if I remember rightly, there was sorry, itchy nose. There was a game that I played where I was purely using the pistol, and there was a lot of people downrange, and I was so tired, I couldn't see anything, so I was like, I need that extra help. I'm getting old, right? So I put recon on, but realistically, you would want sleight of hand on this thing. So they're the two classes that I primarily use. Hopefully, hopefully you see something here you like. Maybe you think, oh, this is just default, this is shit. Then, by all means, it is default and shit. I'm going to experiment some more with some other classes. Maybe the Odin, because I used that a lot when this game first came out. I love that gun so much, and we'll go from there. I'll find something experimental that you guys will love. Yeah, don't look at this class, it's gross. But that's going to be it, guys. Thank you for watching. I'm not going to ask you to subscribe or anything because I don't really care about that shit. So until next time, I'll see you later.